Hey there, science fans! Today we're diving into the world of economics with a look at GDP, or gross domestic product. Think of it like a country's report card for economic performance. It tells us how much a country is producing and how well its economy is doing overall. A high GDP usually means more jobs, higher incomes, and a good standard of living. Now you might be wondering, why should I care about GDP? Well, understanding GDP helps us make sense of the economy and how it affects our lives. It helps policymakers make better decisions about taxes, spending, and other economic policies. So, whether you're a student, a business owner, or just someone who wants to be more informed about the world, understanding GDP is crucial. So buckle up and let's explore the fascinating world of GDP. Calculating GDP isn't as complicated as you might think. It's like baking a cake. You just need the right ingredients and a simple recipe. The most common way to calculate GDP is using the expenditure approach. This method adds up all the spending on final goods and services within a country's borders during a specific period, usually a year. The formula for calculating GDP using the expenditure approach is GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Let's break down each component of this formula. C represents consumer spending, which includes everything from groceries and clothes to cars and houses. I stands for investment, which is the money businesses spend on things like buildings, equipment, and software. G represents government spending, including things like roads, schools, and defense. And X minus M represents net exports, which is the difference between a country's exports, goods and services sold to other countries, and imports, goods and services bought from other countries. By adding up these four components, we can get a good picture of a country's total economic activity. Now that we know how to calculate GDP, let's talk about what gets included. Remember, GDP only counts the final goods and services produced at a country's borders, regardless of who produces them. Here are some examples of what gets included in GDP: the value of cars produced in a factory, the cost of a haircut at a local barbershop, the rent paid for an apartment, the money spent on education or healthcare services. It's important to note that GDP includes both goods, tangible products like cars and phones, and services, intangible activities like haircuts and education. Section 4. What doesn't count exclusions from GDP. Just as important as knowing what's included in GDP is understanding what's not. Several things are excluded from GDP because they don't represent current production or occur within the formal economy. Here are some examples of what's excluded from GDP. Second-hand sales, like selling your used car or clothes. Intermediate goods, like the steel used to make a car, are only counted once in the final product. Financial transactions, like buying stocks or bonds, are just transfers of existing wealth. Unpaid work, such as household chores or volunteer work, is valuable but not included in the formal economy. Illegal activities like drug trafficking or gambling are not included. By excluding these items, we can ensure that GDP accurately reflects the value of a country's current production of goods and services. Section 5. The importance of GDP, a concluding note. As we've learned, GDP is a powerful tool for understanding a country's economic health. It tells us how much a country is producing, how well its economy is doing, and how it compares to other countries. While no single measure is perfect, GDP provides valuable insights into the overall well-being of a nation. By understanding what GDP is, how it's calculated, and what it includes and excludes, we can make more informed decisions about our own economic lives and engage in more meaningful conversations about economic policy.